Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A Show, where we hope to understand new innovations in environmental technology and their applications to developing a more sustainable world. So, today, very exciting continuation of the previous episode, innovation in artificial intelligence and generally software within agriculture and food. Very exciting episode today, exploring three companies operating in the wine industry, a company operating in, well, three companies generally, but one company operating in the wine industry, one operating in innovations in manufacturing prototyping, and another working in kind of merging academic nutritional analysis with consumer knowledge. So three very interesting companies today, all contributing to a more refined understanding of our agriculture and food system within that greater sector. So once again, welcoming you to the channel, and I hope you enjoy. So first going to start at analyzing Yuka, that being Y-U-K-A, which is a app that I came across on recommendation from a friend, I would say 2 to 3 weeks ago, and been using it quite frequently since. It's just basically a barcode scanner as an app that then analyzes the ingredients in a product, traces them against and compares them against academic studies that are heavily and rigorously reviewed and cited, and focuses on the food science and nutrition and potential harms within those ingredients and the product generally. It provides immediate analysis on kind of nutritional content, where it could be better or improved. So a great example is having a product that has too much sugar. It'll flag a little red indication saying too much sugar in this product, and give you other alternatives instead of that one. Also documents harmful chemicals and preservatives and gives those analysis. Dyes are a good example here in preservatives, and it'll kind of flag both the health risks of those and kind of why they're bad for you, what they're linked to, whether it be hair loss or hormone disruption, etc. As a whole, it features currently 2.5 million food products, 1.5 million cosmetics, and there's an additional 1,200 products added every day between the two. I think the really interesting about this product is that you don't often get too many consumer-facing software solutions, I found. Most of the software analysis and applications of software in agriculture and food focus on like robotics and making those more efficient and kind of continuously updating that. I would also say crop monitoring, that's a huge application for artificial intelligence specifically in agriculture. You also get things like supply chain and bettering that. The idea of eliminating food waste, but also optimizing ordering from the entirety of the supply chain, kind of informing farmers how much to be expected in terms of an order quantity, all the way down to pretty much everybody who handles agricultural and produce, agricultural goods and produce throughout the value chain, kind of just better insights, more refined insights. But you have a lot of software applications that aren't really focused on the consumer necessarily. So I find this one to be very interesting. And definitely kind of in line with, I guess, less of an innovation in terms of new technology, but any product that allows consumers to make more informed decisions to support their own health, I'm a fan of, and I think it's very valuable, especially when it's trying to bridge a gap between potentially what people consider pseudoscience, when you talk about being super conscious of the ingredients in something and what's kind of labeled in the mainstream as maybe like over analytical or too focused on nutritional value. Those people kind of have a certain social tinge to them sometimes, especially when it's combined with kind of the gym bro culture. But yeah, being able to make very conscious, educated decisions and pairing that kind of that categorized group with really hard science academic publication, I don't know, it creates a very informed database of goods and products and the ingredients that go with them, and allows people to kind of be more conscious of what they're putting on their skin and their body and their mouth, whatever. So yeah, the Yuka, very interesting app, and I suppose the company is also Yuka. I haven't done that, but on the App Store, I believe it's also on the Android store. But yeah, very interesting software and very interesting app that I'm a pretty big fan of. So moving on now to the wine section of this episode in innovation in ag and food. We're going to now be focusing on Tastry. That's Tastry, Tastry, I guess, Tastry. which offers up a chemical analysis platform focused on wine, as I mentioned earlier, with a specific bent towards consumers and producers. So I'm going to go ahead and break that down, what that means. For the producers, I'd say it's much more thoroughly, I guess, well, maybe not thoroughly, but it's much wider breadth of what they offer. One kind of thing here is kind of a market success consulting metric, which focuses on demographic fit. So this is going to play into something I discuss later on, but they've profiled very intensively flavor profiles from the consumers, and which vary by region or vary by just general barometers of interest in wine. If somebody's not very interested in wine, they'll probably be more inclined for this type of product, etc. So demographic or geographic terms, a consumer of mostly rosés in San Diego, California, what would they like? Something like that. And from this, you get kind of a insights dashboard that Tastery's created that from a producer side can then analyze your own wine after you've sent it to them. They're kind of a laboratory / software company, which is kind of interesting, kind of biotechnology in a way. But you send them your wine, a sample of it or whatever. They assess kind of a chemical composition. They run it through a vast, I guess, selection of tests to determine chemical composition. And then they then list that to you in comparison to various competitors. So say winery, like a Frog's Leap, which is, I believe, a winery in Sonoma or Napa, one of the two, against like Mark West or something, which is another winery. And it kind of gives you a profile of this is their Pinot Noir that's very highly rated, and it's how it compares to yours. And then it kind of predicts, this is where kind of their application of artificial intelligence comes in. It kind of applies consumers' trends that they're able to, I guess, profile through an algorithm, and then also variations of your own wine. So what would happen if you added nutmeg or some type of more of a fruity base? What would happen if you did these alterations to your wine in terms of its competitive performance against this wine and against the market generally? So application in the market kind of category and market research category. This platform within the Tastery kind of the greater Tastery company is called CompuBlend. So really CompuBlend is a similar profile or similar platform meant for wine producers who mainly blend. So if you take a 50% of, say, a Cab Sav, a Cabernet Sauvignon, and you mix it with 40% of a Pinot Noir and then 10% of a Rosé or something, it's kind of takes all the information I just talked about for the actual producers of whole wines, like a whole Pinot, and it kind of boils down all of those categories and then informs them into a blending sense. So you get all of the chemical analysis that you would get for a regular wine, and then you're able to kind of increase the scope of it and idealize kind of if you do want an extra, not portion, but element of sweetness in a wine. It's a very interesting platform for a blending profile for a wine, because you're able to incorporate the chemical analysis of countless wines into a blend of 2, 3, 4 wines. So again, another kind of interesting thing where they've approached the consumer market in a very interesting way, and being able to capture whole wine producers, blending producers, and also kind of being able to market this as a commercial sales element to whole, like, entire wineries, and then down the line to blenders, down the line to I guess distributors and wholesalers, etc. There's also a consumer element of this where you can register for the service. Excuse me, sorry, a little bit of brain fog, but register for the service, and there's 248 million profiled flavor palettes for wine that they've profiled, and it kind of supports you kind of input what you're looking for generally. This isn't necessarily innovative, but it's kind of cool that they have a consumer and a retail facing element, or consumer and supplier, and producer, I guess. And it kind of generates what you would be looking for in a wine, flavor recommendations, winery recommendations, suggestions, to kind of, I don't know, improve your own experience. in the wine industry, which is very cool. And again, very interesting to see a producer engaging all sectors and seeing what works. It seems like they've kind of found a niche in their producer element, and then kind of an additional one in the kind of specific blending market. They have their own CompuBlend platform, like I said, so kind of an interesting one. The last thing I'll mention on Tastery is that they have another side of this business, which focuses exclusively on identifying wine, grapes, fruits, elements that would go into elements that would go into a wine that are damaged by smoke. And so when you think about the applications of this in Mediterranean climates, which tend to be, or not always, but tend to be the most popular wine climates in the world, when you think of most of California, in all honesty these days, but California, Oregon, Washington, Canada, Italy, Spain, Australia, South Africa, probably some of the Latin American regions too, Argentina. The smoke taint can kind of engage with the fruits and the grapes that are being, mentioned, and the kind of need for this really comes from the fact that once a fruit is exposed to smoke, the smoke particles within there and the particulate binds to sugar within the grapes or the other fruit that's being used. If you use peach or cherry within the wine blending, or not blending, but within the wine production process, it binds to the sugar and it releases as the sugar breaks down during fermentation, and it creates a smoky flavor that wasn't otherwise recognizable. You can't really see it, you can't really smell it, and you can't really taste it until it starts fermenting. The main compounds that Tastery has identified and focuses on are glycol, 4-methylglycol, O-cresol, M-cresol, P-cresol, and phenol. These are kind of the elements of smoke that they've chosen to focus on. And I think it's a very interesting market to step into, because you're not seeing a ton of commercial solutions, I would say, focused specifically on wine growers, and definitely not ones that kind of play on software as a tool in those specific focuses, especially on the raw material side with the grapes and the fruits and the other things needed for processing and fermentation. So it's a very interesting idea, and something that's going to become and remain particularly important. Something most people don't understand, especially about California, is that wildfire and wildfire smoke are not something that is supposed to happen infrequently. It's supposed to be kind of a seasonal occurrence to keep down fuels. And so instead of having this tool as something that will solve an issue, it's much more something that will kind of look at batches of grapes, so you don't have to ruin a whole season's harvest. That's kind of the idea. Because wildfires aren't really going to go anywhere. They're going to hopefully decline in severity, and they're going to become controlled burns, but I'm still going to use the term wildfire because that's kind of what is the popular notion of smoke being left in the air after a burn of some sort in a uninhabited area or very sparsely inhabited area. So controlled burns are going to keep producing this smoke. It's going to keep going in different locations and affecting grapes of some sort. So this software is going to be exceptionally helpful, and the chemical analysis platform is kind of the base of Tastery. I would say that's their kind of IP, their really foundational technology. And the ways they've been able to apply it to a consumer market, to a producer market, to a blending market, to a kind of midline distributor market, all the way down now to kind of a scientific analysis of smoke and kind of the issues it causes within wine. Very cool, very innovative, and definitely something that is very pertinent, I feel like, especially as a California. So the last company I'm going to talk about today is Food Pairing AI. It is kind of similar to companies I've talked about before, but it kind of has an interesting take, I would say, in that its main goal of its technology is not necessarily to increase profits or provide nutritional benefit necessarily. I mean, clearly, but that's part of ingredients marketing. But I would say its main focus is on reducing development timelines, which I'm somebody who's a huge proponent of that in the food manufacturing space. I think that's actually where most of the increases in revenue are going to come from, especially as we switch to diets that consist a little bit more of plant proteins, and there you're going to need increased emphasis on things that all require feedstock. So fermentation, plant-based and cultivated, all require some level of feedstock and ingredient preparation, and if you can optimize those, we'll live in a much more prepared society for that transition to alternative proteins. But back to it, food pairing AI is an ingredients platform that evaluates minor flavor differences in test products. So really, again, focused on the prototyping market manufacturing, and it utilizes several flavor sequencing algorithms to identify optimal taste to cost profiles. So what this looks like is you have, let's use the left Snickers, the right Snickers, or is it Twix? Left Twix and right Twix. I haven't had a Twix in years. You can theoretically then look at one of them, say this one has 15% more sugar. What is kind of the optimal, what is the optimal performance of one with 15% more sugar and 15% less sugar when you compare them? And you can then analyze this. Food pairing AI they kind of differ from Tastery and some of the other companies I profiled, where they're not necessarily looking at the consumer element, but much more so regional taste profiles. And they also have their own independent formulation recommendation. So, I would assume food manufacturers kind of have their own sense of what a formulation should be, but who knows? I'm not an expert in that market by any stretch of the imagination, just like the technology. So the new ingredients or the new formulations are then put against metrics of regional taste and analysis, and the independent formulation recommendation. They're presented to the manufacturer, who can then tweak minor things, flavors, mixtures, different chemical compounds, and run those tests again, run those kind of comparative analyses again. The idea here is that if you can trial these things in a software setting, and obviously you'll have your own independent tasters and human people who are eating it. It's not all going to be computerized, hopefully. But jokingly, the idea here being in food pairings, major statistic that they hang their hat on is that they can reduce development timelines by 700%. So when you think about something like, I believe it was Nestle put out an article, or it may have been Bayer, that said, this is ingredients, so a little different. Developing a new ingredient or a new seed takes, I believe the number they used was 13 years. And they're trying to bring that down to, I think, 1 or 2 years or 3 years or something with a lot of their new genetic engineering. This is kind of a similar trend. You can kind of see the idea is we need to get new products to market as quickly as possible. That nothing wrong with that statement, as long as you can guarantee their quality. And that's really where they're trying to operate here, is creating more high quality products in a turnaround that's far quicker than their competitors. And they're trying to license this technology out to manufacturers. So think Kraft Heinz, think even some of like the plant-based producers like Impossible, Beyond Meat, these type things. So anybody who manufactures food, there's a market for them here. And the overall kind of overarching idea here is that if you can provide simultaneous market intelligence with culinary kind of analysis and improvements, and tie the two together in seeing if we can kind of increase taste enough, and we can keep prices low enough, and make quality improvements and price improvements and ingredient improvements, and trying to see where the two overlap. So really looking at the cost of ingredients and the taste they provide, but also looking at the market's kind of interest in those. If the pricing is at $20 and there's no market for that, being able to come down and look based on an ingredients metric, how can you better align that to where a consumer is willing to pay either for that price or bring it down to a price that's more comfortable for them with digitized and software-based solutions there, and analysis on the chemical side and the ingredient side. So again, food pairing AI, nothing that's necessarily too different than any other manufacturing software components, but being able to use kind of artificial intelligence in a way to, again, kind of like not co-engage with taste, something that I would say isn't one of the focuses of artificial intelligence, and trying to build up kind of similar things to, in a way, computer vision, being able to profile what a specific taste is, and then being able to match that to regional taste preferences, economic performance, and also the play with other characteristics and flavor profiles. The idea that you can have like a sweet and a nutty, or a sweet and a salty, So yeah, there's a lot of interesting innovation here on the ingredients front. Again, I'm somebody who's very high on ingredients, as I said, as a way to kind of move forward the ag and food industry. But yeah, so that's going to go ahead and kind of wrap up profile of 3 companies here. Hope you all enjoyed. Again, the first one going to be Yuka, the smartphone barcode scanner that really focuses on nutritional and health risks associated with food and cosmetic products. Second one being Tastery, the wine-facing platform for ingredients analysis, improvement, smoke taint, and consumer interest. And then Food Pairing AI, ingredients platform focusing on manufacturers and the idea of reducing development timelines and improving overall cost to consumers. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Really appreciate you watching. Continue this series as we go with a kind of deep dive in artificial intelligence and software development in agriculture and food. But yeah, appreciate you all watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.